I welcome you to my another video about electric tools. Today we are going to talk about Parkside Cordless Soldering Station PLSA 20-LI A1. You may also remember that this name already has Parkside Cordless Reflector, but they obviously don't care. It has finally arrived to Lidl eShop, so I ordered it for review, and because I'm often in need for soldering on the go, of course. Well, I must say that Lidl is probably trying to fool us again. Their 230 volts powered station was a bad joke. Screwed tips, trike power control with no feedback temperature regulation, hard to bend cables, no mains isolation, and finally, lots of people were complaining that it just dies after some time. Then comes battery powered soldering iron that has around 5 to 10 volts, I believe, another bad joke. Useful just for soldering tiny wires like 26 gauge maybe. Then, out of nowhere, comes this gas soldering iron. I have encountered no problems with it so far, only the piezo spark start is not that reliable. But let's talk about piezo start reliability in my Portasol Pro Piezo 75 that's already dead with full tank of gas. And then comes this cordless X 20 volt powered station. Is it worth buying? After watching this video, you will probably not buy it. But let's get to the topic. What's included? This sponge cleaner that you have to moisturize before use. It's included with almost every Parkside solder. Near useless, as it doesn't clean your tip effectively. It oxidizes it and it cools your tip down. It is even better to get a piece of cotton cloth in like 4 layers and clean your tip in this. And the best solution is such wire cleaner. So sponge would not count. Then there are 2 coils of soldering tin, lead-free, 10 grams per coil, flux inside, and 1, respectively 1.5 mm thickness. As Parkside has fortunately overall quite good soldering tin wires, these are just okay. But 20 grams is just starter, and you should buy bigger coils as soon as possible. May it be lead-free tin for 99% of jobs, or lead-free tin with silver for demanding jobs, or even leaded tin for highest demand jobs with vibrations and such. Resin is also a must, as you don't want your soldered surface to oxidize when soldering, because it would then reject to get wet from the tin. Tips. There are 2 of them included. This that looks like T12 D16, and then this something between hoof and shovel. These tips are actually great, and even better than that. The station uses standard 900M tip system with ceramic heating element, and spare tips of different shapes can be bought online. For example, AliExpress is full of them. But these are a little special, as they are significantly heavier. They just have more material in them. More material may mean longer heat up time, but also it means beautiful temperature stability, which is crucial in 900M system, as there is not that great heat transfer from heating element to tip and from the tip to feedback thermistor. Fortunately, these tips also have thinner inner diameter than AliExpress ones, so ceramic element sits there more tightly, and there is lower resistance in way of heat transfer. So well done, Parkside. With this, you have overcome all these Chinese 900M stations. But legendary Hako T12 system, let's leave T12 for later and focus on ceramic element instead. When cold, it draws around 100 watts from battery, so if you use this fat tip, it gets to 320 degrees centigrade in 34 seconds. Not bad for cordless station with 900M and such heavy tip. Let's get to the actual station. The pen is, well, up to normal pens, but this rubber should be changed for silicone sleeve. But I understand that since Parkside is Tools brand, they want to use PA6 plastic with GF of 30 armature and TPE for not slipping. This cable supporting anti-bend sleeve is nice to have. Then we move exactly 1.5 meter along this PVC cable and get to unprotected cable that goes right into the station. It has tip resting holes and pen holding spring. Sponge pen is nice thing. Button is also good thing to have. LED indicator brightens your life too. But what I am missing here is just basic, usual, necessary and must-have thing. A temperature knob. Or anything that would allow me to set temperature. Well, actually, there is feedback temperature regulation present in this station, but you can't adjust it. It's like a car with no gas pedal, just cruise control fixed to one speed. And the speed is 150 kilometers per hour in this case, as the soldering station keeps 460 degrees all the time. That is exactly 100 times degrees more than what is the upper temp what I use for soldering massive parts. Personally, if I use lead-free tin, then I use 320 for just generic parts, then 340 for connectors like fasten or DC power jack, then XT60 connectors usually require around 350, and 4mm banana plugs around 360. That's all. Well, you always want to set your soldering station temperature according to the job that is in front of you and according to your station's parameters. 60 watts and above is good, and above 80 watts is great. Then you just adjust your temp as low as it is still able to heat up soldered part, so tin sticks to it after a short period of time. Temp lower than that will result in you heating the part for like 5 minutes, destroying all of its insulators and such. Using higher tin temp oxidizes your tin and makes it useless. 460 degrees may be absolutely comfortable for quick soldering, but the tin on your tip will degrade and oxidize in just few seconds, around 10 to 20 I would guess. Oxidized tin is like wet sand and needs to be cleaned off the tip, so you just waste tin soldering at such a high temperature. This station is then pretty bad, but please don't be sad, as there is lots of solutions for you, and I am gonna describe them briefly. If you have a need to solder on the go, like in a car or somewhere in nature, you can have battery powered or gas powered iron. The gas powered ones are only good for occasional use as they consume too much lighter gas. I can recommend brands like Weller or Dremel. Even this gas Parkside is not bad at all. For me it works just well, but keep in mind that there is only power adjustment, not temperature regulation, just power adjustment, and that gas lighters have their exhaust in the tip. Skin on my fingers would write a book of all my burns from these hot exhaust fumes. Then comes age of electricity. The best available system, what I've tried so far, is Japanese Hako T12. These tips are all in one, so they have perfect heat transfer. You can buy their Chinese copies and even Chinese soldering stations that use them. Cheapest is this T12 with 7-segment display. I do not recommend that. Then there is Quico T12, cheap and smart. Then there is small KSGR T12. All these three variants are powered from DC voltage, from around 12 or 16 to 24 volts I believe. Higher is better, and the pinnacle of Chinese T12 is KSGR T12 soldering station. It has its own power supply that provides internal 24 volts. But you can attach XT60 connector, just like I did, or any other power connector to it, and use it as auxiliary power input. May it be powered from car socket or your tool battery, that's entirely on you. KSGR also has undervoltage alarm that I have on 16 volts and undervoltage shutdown at 15 volts, so you don't over-discharge your X20 volt battery. Pretty neat. So, I hope that world of soldering stations is now clear to you, that you know all about the options you have. Use your just gained wisdom for best purpose of choosing the right soldering station or soldering pen for you. I am actually planning video on basic tools needed for electrician's DIY lab, but it won't be that soon. That's all for this video. Goodbye and see you in another video.